Realizing they were deliberately imprisoned, a thief and his friends must complete an epic quest to save his daughter from a con man and a dangerous wizard. One day, a hobgoblin prisoner named Gorg is delivered to Revel's End, an icy prison that contains the region's most dangerous criminals. He's sent inside a cell with bard Edgin or Ed and barbarian Holga Kilgore, whom he tries to flirt with. However, Holga isn't amused and puts aside her potatoes to break his legs. Meanwhile, Ed knits a pair of mittens, unbothered by the events. One afternoon, Ed informs Holga that the Absolution Council will be arriving tomorrow, and he's hopeful that the Arakokran Jonathan will free them. The following day, Ed and Holga stand before the parole committee for their crimes of grand larceny and skullduggery. Although Ed tries to stall to wait for Jonathan's arrival, he's forced to begin his statement without him. Years ago, Ed was a member of a network of spies called Harpers, who swore an oath to get nothing in return. His wife Zia supported his dangerous profession and gave birth to their daughter Kira. One day while he was away, one of the disciples of a Thayan red wizard he had arrested came to his house and killed his wife. Fortunately, Zia hid Kira in a cupboard for the baby's safety, but the injuries she sustained from the Red Wizard's blade were incurable. After his wife's death, Ed left the Harpers and met Holga, a barbarian who was exiled from her tribe after falling in love with an outsider. Soon, the barbarian took pity on the Darvis family and moved in with them, where she and Ed established a sibling-like relationship. To make a living, they turned to theft, with Holga giving Kira a necklace that could turn her invisible. Soon, they teamed up with a mediocre sorcerer Simon Omar and conman Forge Fitzwilliam. However, everything changed when they met the mysterious wizard Sofina, who asked for help raiding a Harper stronghold called Corin's Keep. Ed initially refused, but Forge persuaded him to take the mission because among the treasures was a tablet of reawakening, which could resurrect a deceased person, even one killed by a red wizard's blade. Before the perilous mission, Ed left Kira at home but didn't disclose they were stealing the tablet to revive her mother. At the keep, Ed triggered a booby trap, which alerted the guards. To evade them, Sofina casted a time stop spell, but the spell trapped Holga and Ed. Before freezing completely, Ed asked Forge to keep the tablet and Kira safe. In the present, Jonathan arrives, and the duo enacts their plan by grabbing the Arakokran and jumping through the window, forcing him to fly them out to safety. However, the council is baffled by their actions because they just approved their pardon. The two return home to Neverwinter, but find no sign of Kira. At a tavern, Ed decides they should look for Forge, when Holga suggests she'll visit her ex-husband Marleman on the way. Ed tries to stop her, but Holga insists she needs closure. The two then discover that Forge is the new Lord of Neverwinter, so they travel to the capital to see him. When they arrive, they see the people preparing for the upcoming High Sun Games, a gladiatorial event that had previously been banned. At the castle, the two are reunited with Kira. Ed is joyous to see his daughter and hands her the mittens, but she seemingly doesn't share his excitement. Forge then arrives and leads them to his office, explaining that he became the Lord of Neverwinter after the previous ruler, Lord Neverember, fell ill. He used the money from Corin's Keep for his campaign, with Sofina as his top advisor. After Ed asks him to return the tablet, Kira expresses her hurt feelings, believing her father only returned to retrieve the Tablet of Riches. Shocked, Ed realizes that Forge lied to her by saying he abandoned her for gold, and tries to explain that he stole it to revive Zia. However, Forge reveals that he knows Ed and Holga are fugitives, further angering Kira, who storms off. Furious, Ed and Holga move to attack Forge, but Sofina casts a transmute rock spell, trapping them in the quicksand-like floor. Ed then realizes that Forge and Sofina deliberately orchestrated their capture. After taunting them, Forge calls Blackwood to return them to prison. However, after Forge leaves, Sofina orders Blackwood to execute the pair. At the courtyard, Holga tries to stall Blackwood by commenting on his great axe. She slyly dislodges a brick and uses it to attack the guards, while Ed tries to cut his ropes. As Blackwood aims his axe at her, Ed smashes his lute against his head, and Holga steals his weapon. In Castle Never, Forge goes into Kira's room and lies that the two abandoned her after he gave Ed the tablet. Soon the best friends escape, and Ed decides they should get Kira out during the High Sun Games. They head to Tribor and find Simon performing as a stage magician, where he uses a mage hand spell to pickpocket the audience. When he spots them, Simon accidentally drops his lute, and the furious audience mobs him. He tries to cast a shield spell to escape, but inadvertently performs reverse gravity, causing everyone to float to the ceiling. Simon reverses the spell and drops them them back down. He attempts to cast it again but is flung out the sunroof, and Holga catches him. The trio flees, and Simon reveals that Sofina tried to kill him when they escaped from Corin's keep. He also surmises that the wizard incapacitated Lord Neverwinter to make Forge the new ruler. Ed plans to find a druid to sneak inside the castle, so Simon suggests Doric, a tiefling druid known for her wild shape ability. Simon admits that Doric rejected him as a suitor because she found his lack of self-esteem unattractive. Simon leads them to the forest, where they see Forge's knights about to execute a wood elf. Suddenly, Doric transforms from a horse to an owlbear and attacks them. After defeating the soldiers, Doric releases the elf and they escape. The trio follows them back to the wood elves' treetop village where Doric spots them. Simon introduces themselves, and Ed reveals they wish to take down Forge. Intrigued, Doric takes them to a tavern, where she explains that the wood elves took her in when the humans abandoned her, and that she joined the Emerald Enclave to protect them. Although doubtful of their capabilities, Doric agrees to help them to save her people. In Castle Never, Red Wizard Zaz Tam appears before Sofina and says her work is nearly complete. He then disappears when Forge enters to inform Sofina that their wealthy guests Din Caldwell and Poor Pyridost have arrived. Sofina storms off while Forge tries to swat away a fly. After showing the guests around the castle, Forge leads them to the vault. Sofina explains that the Mordenkainen's arcane seal protects it, but refuses to elaborate further. Sofina then senses a presence of a wild shape druid and outs it using her Thunderwave spell. Doric quickly flees and disguises herself as a knight, but when she gets caught, she transforms into a mouse. After jumping from the tower, Doric changes into a hawk, but while evading arrows, gets entangled in a flag. She falls into a chimney and lands as a cat. After returning to her original form, Doric dons a cloak, but soon spots Sofina. Doric changes into an axe beak to blend in with the other birds, but Sofina quickly recognizes and chases her through the streets. Doric then transforms into a deer and is almost cornered by the wizard, but she makes it out of the city gates just in time. Later, Doric informs the group that Sofina is a red wizard, confirming Simon's suspicions. After Simon learns that the vault is protected by Mordenkainen's arcane seal, he tells them that it's impenetrable, except if one has the Helmet of Disjunction, a long-lost enchanted helm that can disable all nearby magic. Simon walks out and Ed follows him, proposing they find it. However, Simon is dismissive, claiming he won't be able to attune to it. Ed tries to encourage him but fails, so he tells him not to tell the others about his doubts. After they return to the table, Holga informs them that her tribe fought the cult of the dragon and the dragon Rakor for control over the helmet at the Evermoors over a century ago. They use this as a lead since Simon can use a token to speak to corpses. The following day, Sofina, Blackwood, and Neverwinter guards meet with Thayan assassin Drawless and his 6-man at the docks. She orders him to hunt down Ed's group and to murder Blackwood and his soldiers for failing to stop Ed and Holga's escape. Elsewhere, Ed spots a blue dragonfly and remembers Zia. Holga then points out they've arrived in Longsaddle, so she can meet Marleman much to Ed's disappointment. Holga goes to her house where Marleman greets her, and Doric is surprised to see that the barbarian's ex-husband is a halfling. Inside, the pair catch up, and Holga is heartbroken to learn that Marleman has moved on with another barbarian woman, Gwyn. Marleman explains that he preferred Gwyn because she made her living honestly and he never feared that she'd be imprisoned or killed as Holga did. The two then reminisce about the reasons for their past struggles and separation. Seeing Marleman happy, Holga departs, taking the walking stick she had gifted him. Ed tries to comfort her by singing her song, making her smile. Together they sing as the group travels to the Evermoor cemetery. Later that night, they dig up a corpse so Simon can use his deathly token to speak with him. After failing to get answers, they dig up another body, when Ed realizes they must ask another person as he died trying to get the helm. However, Simon insists he finish asking him 5 questions to end the spell rather than leave the man waiting, so Ed relents. After several attempts, they learn from Ven Salafin that an exiled Thayan named Zenk Yendar had retrieved the helmet, promising to keep it safe. Ed is disgusted, thinking all Thayans are evil, and tells his group they should find another way into the vault. However, the others all claim they've heard of Zenk, and that he's a good paladin, hence Ed reluctantly agrees to seek him out. Soon the group departs, but they accidentally leave Ven waiting, as they only asked him 4 questions. They arrive in Mornbryn's shield, where they witness Zank saving a baby kitten from the mouth of a giant fish. Holga introduces themselves and tells him they're looking for the helmet. Unwilling at first, Zank changes his mind when Simon explains they'll be using it to defeat the Lord of Neverwinter and his red wizard partner. Zank then leads them to an underground harper sanctuary. He explains that over a century ago, during the eve of the summer solstice, the necromancer Zaz Tam used the Horn of Beckoning Death to turn everyone into an army of undead to take over Thay. Zank believes Zaz Tam and his red wizards wish to extend their dominance and enslave the whole of Faerun. After Simon and Doric convince Zank they're fighting a common enemy, he makes a reluctant Ed swear on a harper book to give any stolen riches to the Neverwinter people. Zank then says he hid the helmet in the Underdark because it's the last place anyone who values their life would go. Later, he leads the team to the Cryptgarden Forest, where an inconspicuous Underdark entrance is located. On their way, Zank learns why Ed renounced being a harper, and explains that not all Thayans are evil, as he was there when Zaz Tam cast the spell, and was left changed by the magic. Meanwhile, Dralas tracks them from a distance. They arrive at the entrance, where Zank leads them inside. They then run into Rocknon, monsters that consume brains and are drawn to species with higher intelligence. However, the Rocknon pass them, hurting Ed's feelings. Soon they arrive at the ruins of the hanging city of Dullblood, where Zank hid the helmet. He warns that an ancient trap protects the bridge, and explains the complicated technique to cross it, when Simon inadvertently triggers the incorrect step, causing the bridge to collapse, much to Zank's annoyance. As they suggest other options, Simon notices Holga's walking stick and realizes it's a hither-thither staff. He then uses it to create portals that they use to cross to the other side. Afterwards, Zank finds and opens a mechanical box to retrieve the helm. Dralas and his men arrive, and Zank single-handedly finishes them off, much to the group's amazement. However, the Thayans return to life, and the team quickly flees when the rotund dragon Themberchaud appears. The creature quickly eats the assassins and chases after the group. Simon uses the hither-thither staff to create portals to help them escape, but Ed and Zank are left behind on the platform. As Ed is about to be eaten, Zank stabs Themberchaud, causing him to let go of the bridge. However, the dragon returns with a vengeance and chases after them to a narrow cave with a dead end. The dragon's thrashing causes seawater to leak into the cave. Ed devises a plan to make Themberchaud belch gas and Simon to light a flame on his finger, causing the cavern to explode, hence freeing them. Soon they make their way to shore, where Zank says his goodbyes and departs. Simon tries to attune to the helmet and finds himself in an ethereal plane. He meets his great-great-grandfather, the legendary wizard Elminster Omar, who challenges him if he's worthy, before pushing him out. Ed tells him to keep trying before they leave for Neverwinter. He then goes by the grass to sleep, dreaming of when he tried to kill a dragonfly with Zia. Back then, his wife advised him to stop trying to capture it and let it go. Simon then wakes Ed up, lamenting he can't get past Elminster after hours of trying. Simon admits to Holga and Doric that Ed made him lie about being able to do it, exasperating them. Eventually, Ed reveals that he was the one who got Zia killed, as he had stolen marked treasure from the Red Wizards who tracked down his home. This ultimately wins them over, and they decide to stay and finish the mission. Holga suggests a new plan. They use the hither-thither staff to put a portal and a piece of treasure they could smuggle into the vault, remembering that Caldwell and Pyridost were bringing valuables into the city. The following day, Ed buys a painting where they place a portal onto its board and cover it up. Ed then hides underneath a pile of leaves and sticks the artwork to the bottom of the wagon when it passes. Elsewhere, Holga removes the floorboards, and Doric enters the portal and the wagon. The painting then falls when Doric tries to pull it through the hole. However, Simon grabs her through the portal in time, and they pull it into the wagon with Holga's help. With it flat on the ground, Holga reattaches the boards using the portal, and Simon closes it. Doric then replaces the painting to hide the portal and transforms into a fly to escape. They then head into Neverwinter and get a room at an inn, where Jill Torbo from the Absolution Council spots them. At the Colosseum, Forge opens the High Sun Games, promising to give gifts to the audience if they stay until the end. In their room, they try to use the portal but realize that the painting had fallen onto the floor. Ed proposes Simon try to attune to the helmet again, reminding him that his magic always pulls through at the very last second. Doric suggests she stay and try to slip in through the painting as a worm. Simon then gives each one of them a sending stone to communicate with one another. Later, Ed, Holga, and Simon sneak inside Castle Never by distracting the guards with Simon's image of Ed singing and playing the lute. However, the illusion distorts when Simon loses concentration because his foot's stuck. The guards chase after them, but they manage to get inside and close close the gate. The trio splits up, with Holga and Simon going to the vault while Ed searches for Kira. Guards find the two in the armory, and Holga holds them off while Simon goes ahead. At the inn, Jill calls the Neverwinter guards to inspect the group's room. Before they barge in, Doric transforms into a worm and crawls into the vault. Simon arrives at the vault entrance when a group of guards intercepts him. Panicking, he dons the helmet and sees Elminster again, who belittles him. Angry, Simon punches him, and the old mage transforms into Simon himself, revealing it was his own insecurity holding him back. Simon finally attunes to the helmet, opening the vault and disabling all magic in the vicinity. Holga catches up to Simon in the vault, which they find empty. Doric then calls to inform them that she's inside and surmises she's under the arena based on the sounds above. Doric then heads outside and sees guards placing the treasures onto a ship when she's suddenly knocked unconscious. In the vault, Holga and Simon are caught in an Evert's black tentacle spell. Ed arrives at Kira's room, where he apologizes about being a bad father. However, Kira is revealed to be Sofina in disguise, and she captures him in her Evert's black tentacle spell. Forge then appears and mocks him, but Ed pleads to compete in the High Sun Games as punishment. Although reluctant, Forge agrees because Sofina wishes to see them suffer. Later, the four companions meet in the arena, and they realize Forge is stealing the treasures for himself. Doric tries to transform to get them out but can't due to a magic suppression cuff strapped on her and Simon. The group is pitted against four other adventuring teams and must navigate a deadly labyrinth where a displacer beast, mimics, and gelatinous cubes await them. Doric finds a sword in one chest and saves Holga from being devoured by a chest monster. At the luxury balcony over the arena, a knight informs Forge that his ship is ready, so he leaves the city to Sofina. Below, Doric's hand gets stuck in a gelatinous cube, and Holga helps her. They then see that her magic suppression cuff got stuck in the cube. Elsewhere, Simon and Ed are attacked by a displacer beast, but Holga and Doric save them. They then reach the maze's center, but Ed realizes there's no escape until everyone dies. Doric then proposes another idea. They leap inside a gelatinous cube as it descends. However, a displacer beast finds them, so they quickly jump into the cube just as it pounces on them. The cube then descends beneath the arena, where Doric turns into a snake, slithers out, and frees her companions. They then make it to the docks where the team seizes the treasure ship from the guards. Ed confronts Forge about the Tablet of Reawakening, but the latter threatens to kill Kira if they don't give him back his ship. However, Holga throws a potato at him, making him lose hold of Kira, and they escape into the sea using Simon's control spell. In the balcony above the arena, Sofina prepares to use the Horn of Beckoning Death on the wealthy sponsors. At sea, Kira apologizes to her father for believing in Forge's lies. As the group celebrates the loot they've stolen, they see ominous red clouds forming over the arena. Realizing Zaz Tam wishes to turn the whole city into the undead, they sail back to Neverwinter. Sofina then reveals herself as a red wizard and levitates, turning the wealthy gamblers into the undead. At the dock, Forge sees his ship has returned but is horrified to discover that his treasures are being emptied into a portal. Meanwhile, the companions use a hot air balloon with Forge's picture on it and place one end of the portal in it to scatter the riches, leading the people out of the arena and enraging Sofina. On the ground, Ed instructs Kira to stay hidden until the battle is over. Sofina then assaults the four with a meteor swarm spell, but Simon protects them using his shield. Sofina then brings a golden dragon statue to life to battle the group. As it corners Holga, Ed stops the statue from attacking her with the great axe, but it easily splits it into two. Ed then throws a sheet over it as it charges at him, but unfortunately, his feet get entangled in the rope and is dragged by the dragon. Doric then slingshots a bag of spices at Sofina, causing her to lose concentration. However, she casts a bubble over Ed and Holga and they roll away. Sofina is about to attack Doric using Bigby's hand when Simon saves her with his Maximilian's earthen grasp. Their hands grapple with one another for dominance, but Sofina overwhelms Simon. Meanwhile, the bubble breaks, and Ed and Holga return to their companions. The four simultaneously attack her, when Sofina casts another time stop spell to freeze them. As she rambles on about how she'll make them suffer, Ed reacts to her unpleasant breath. Sofina then learns that Simon managed to counter her spell and that Kira had placed a magic suppression cuff to negate her spellcasting abilities. Doric then turns into an owlbear and puts down Sofina for good. They then discover that Holga was injured with Sofina's blade during the skirmish. As Holga lies dying, she asks Ed to take care of Kira and sings with him one last time. Realizing that Holga is the only mother Kira's ever known, Ed sees a blue dragonfly and remembers Zia's words. Ed then revives Holga using the Tablet of Reawakening. Soon the group celebrates in Doric's village. Simon comments that Zaz Tam won't be happy to know that his plan was foiled, but Ed reassures him that they'll they'll be ready for him. Simon then asks Doric for another shot at courtship, and she obliges. Elsewhere, Forge escapes into the forest where Zank finds him. At Castle Never, Lord Neverwinter finally wakes up after Sofina's dark magic lifts. He then awards the group with medals of heroism and grants the Wood Elf Sanctuary formal protection. Soon, Forge is denied parole by the Absolution Council. He attempts to escape using Jonathan, but fails because the window's been sealed off. At the Evermoor Cemetery, Van still awaits his final question.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.